Welcome back to another video, guys. Today I'm going to start a new franchise, and that will be the show with the Brewers. I'm going to try to make it as realistic as possible, and we don't have a ton of money, or we're not the best team either. What we got is no minor leagues. We're like the worst rated farm system, which means we have the worst prospects. So that means we have absolutely no future. So we're gonna, for coaching tasks, we're gonna set lineups and rotations. I'm eventually gonna turn off injury management because it takes too long. Player development, I'm going to be scouting and doing the draft. And for the GM tasks, I'm gonna be doing the hiring and firing staff, 40-man roster moves, free agency trades, waiver transactions, and contracts. So we're gonna start in regular season because spring training doesn't mean much. It's just who do you want in the major at the time, and I think we're just going to go with the rosters that we have. So the rosters that I am using are like a full minor, so everything's going to be realistic. So I got to delete a file so I can say this. So I'll just delete one quick, and then but yeah, everything's realistic. So I mean, it's as real as you can get without it being real. So first I'm going to go over the roster, and that will probably be the length of the video for this first episode, and then let's see if you guys like it. So at center field we're going to have LORENZO CAIN. He's starting to get up there in age as he's 33. We still have him for 3 more years though, so we might be looking to trade him because that contract only gets bigger, and he's only going to get worse from here because he's great in the field, decent speed, and he's definitely a contact hitter, so he's not going to hit 100 or like 50 home runs a year. He's around 15 to 10 a year is what he's good for. But the average is usually, it's in the 300s most years. So I think this might be the year he regresses the most. I think by the end of the year he'll get down to a 77 overall, or 76, and right now he's an 81. So that's a pretty big decrease. Next at shortstop, who's going to be platooning with Orlando Arcia, is Brock Holt. He's newly acquired from the Red Sox. He's 31. I mean, he's a 76. But if you look in the top right in his secondary positions, he can play anywhere on the field except for catcher and pitcher. So he's just good for that reason, that if we need him to play anywhere, he can do that. So he's more of a contact hitter as well. Not many home runs, as you can see right here. His career high is 7 in home runs. So definitely not hitting for power, but his average is there. And he's a decent fielder. He's not going to be making any gold gloves this in his career. And he's not fast, but he can definitely get on base. So that's why we have him batting second, so that Christian Yelich, who's definitely the pride and joy of this team, is going to be our best player. So he's 103 contact versus righties, 100 power. So that means if there's a righty in the game, it's almost gone every time. He's 28 though, and we signed him for a huge contract. So he might be traded down the future because I'm trying to make this a long series that we do on the channel, and he's not going to get traded in the first 5 years at least, but once he starts regressing like Ryan Braun did, then maybe we'll trade him. But definitely hits for power. 44 home runs last year, and the year before that 36, but he also hit for good average, batting 326 and 329. RBI isn't really a stat that anyone looks at anymore, but he still gets a ton of them. So moving on, we got Keston Hiura, probably the best prospect in a long time for the Brewers. He only played 84 games last year because he was September call-up, so that means roster size, instead of having 26 players on your team, you can have up to 28. So he was a September call-up last year, and in those 84 games and 314 at-bats, he was able to hit 19 home runs, which is insane. He definitely hits for power. Average isn't there as much as we'd like. I mean, it's not terrible against righties, but for lefties it's a little struggling. He's not good in the field, and he's not fast, so definitely a power hitter at second base. A potential, so he has a ton of upside. He's once Yelich and Braun and those guys are gone, he's definitely face of the franchise. We just need to build pieces around him. Hopefully we can get some starting pitching. Next, we got Omar Narvaez, who's a catcher who also is newly acquired from the Mariners, I believe. He's not great in the field, but he's definitely an offensive threat. He's 28 with B potential, so he can probably get up to like an 80, 85, hopefully. Hopefully he does really good, because last year he had 22 home runs, which is outstanding for a catcher in only 132 games. So hopefully he can do that for us, probably hit a little bit more. But yeah, he has good powers against righties. Again, against lefties, it's not great, but that's because he is a lefty batter, so no one's good against a pitcher that throws at the same side at them. Yeah, like I said, not great in the field and not fast, but the power is what we got with him. He's on a 1-year deal, and then he has 2 years of arbitration, so that means we can give him 1-year deals at a time. He's happy right now because he wants to be a platoon player. He's getting paid more than what he wants, and he has 3 same people on the team from his birthplace in Venezuela. So he's a platoon player, night player, and a fighter. Those are his quirks. Next, we got also newly acquired Avisail Garcia, who's in left field. He's an 87, so I think that's the second best player on our team behind Christian Yelich. He's 28 as well, so B potential. Definitely more of a contact hitter. I mean, the power's decent, and the fielding's decent, and the speed's pretty good, but he's definitely not hitting 40 home runs a year. His career high is, well, last year he had 20, so that was the best year of his career, but it progressively got better, so hopefully he can keep it up this year. He's 2 years, $20 million total, so $10 million a year. I think he'll eventually work his way up in the lineup to either the 5 or 4 spot. Next, we got Ryan Braun. His contract isn't good. He's 36, so he's gonna be retiring soon. But his power is still in pretty good shape for a 36-year-old. He's an 80. He'll probably get down to a 70 by the end of the year, maybe even below that because of his age. But if he still hits 22 home runs like last year when he was 35, hopefully he can hit at least 20 this year. So that's what we're looking for in him. That contract might be something that we might want to move at the trade deadline, but if we can't get any prospects that are halfway decent or better than halfway decent, I don't think we're going to trade him. His morale, he's a little mad because he wants to be an everyday player, and he's just not good enough because we have Garcia at left field, but he's our DH when we have the opportunity. Next, we got Eric Sogard, who we just got back after a 1-year hiatus. He's on our team in 2018, left in 2019, and now back on the team in 2020. Contact hitter is not great, so he's not a great hitter. He has good vision, though, and good discipline. He's decent in the field, but not fast. So he's more of a utility player. Definitely looking to replace him, as he's 33, so he's only going to degress from here. But he's just a filler for right now. Hopefully we can call up someone later in the year. Stats-wise, had 13 home runs last year, which is career high for him. But he's definitely not a power hitter. Doesn't do great hitting for average either, so he's only on a $4.5 million deal for 1 year. So if he does good this year, hopefully we can bring him back. But if he doesn't, oh well, because he's pretty old. Next we got Justin Smoke, who's on a 1-year deal with $5 million. He's ecstatic with his contract right now and how he's playing every day. He's a first baseman, can't play anywhere else on the field, but definitely hits for power. And that's pretty much it, because his home run totals, he maxed out at 38, so hopefully he can hit at least 20 this year, because he's hitting 9. So we have no other first baseman except for third baseman that can play first, and Jed Jerko. Next, we got a 25-year-old Orlando Arcia with B potential. I don't know if we'll be playing all that much because he's got to beat out Sogard first. I'm not just going to give him the role because He's young, definitely doesn't hit well. He's good in the field though, but he's not fast. So he's a good third baseman, second baseman, or shortstop. But hitting wise, it's not great. It's not going to be good. And so for that reason, Sogard's going to be hitting in front of him. Except last year he had 15 home runs along with 2017, but 2018 it was just not good. So if he can prove this year, because he's not going to be getting as much at bats this year because of Sogard in his way. So with him, if in his at bats that he gets, I'm gonna see if he's any good. Because if he does do good, then he's definitely getting the starting role next year until someone else comes along. But we'll have to see how he does. He has 2 years of arbitration after this 1-year deal, so he's not gonna be too expensive until 2023, which is only good for us. 'Cause that means because we don't have a ton of money as an organization, so once we we want to keep it as cheap as we can for as long as we can. He's happy with the situation right now. And then next we got a fielding catcher, Manny Pena. He was almost a Gold Glover a couple years back. Hitting isn't great, but his fielding's amazing. One of the best fielding catchers in the game. He's only 77 overall and he's 32, so he's more of a mentor for the future. Yep, doesn't hit for power or average. He has 2 years where he's hit 9 home runs, so he's not too happy right now because he wants to be an everyday player. But we got Omar Narvaez, who is better than him. Next we got Tyrone Taylor. He is a rookie, 6'9" overall, B potential. He's 25, but it's a log jam in the outfield right now because he's a right fielder, but he's not getting past Yelich anytime soon. So he's either going to be traded or just someone there in case there's an injury. Next we got Jed Jerko. He's 31, 69 overall, from C potential. He can play first base, second base, and shortstop. He's also a third baseman as a primary. Hits for a decent amount of power, and he's okay in the field. Nothing great, but not bad. No speed at all, so we're the worst team with speed. He had a good 2016 with 30 home runs, but that's about it. As last year, he only played 62 games and hit 2 home runs, so hopefully he can do a lot better for us than he did in those years. So he's on a $2 million deal. We'll decide if we want to bring him back if he's having a good year, but time will tell. He's a little mad that he's on the bench, but he's probably not going to get off there unless he starts doing really good. Next, we got Ronny Rodriguez. He's 26, B potential, so he has a lot of room to grow. It's just he can play everywhere except for catcher and pitcher. So he's kind of like Brock Holt, but he's a primary second baseman, decent power for someone that's a second baseman, and decent fielding stats. Speed is below average, but it's not completely horrendous. He played 2 years with the Detroit Tigers, had 14 home runs last year, so that's pretty good. As long as he can keep progressing, hopefully he can get a spot in the lineup. Let's move to our starting rotation and our bullpen. Our ace, so our best pitcher, is Brandon Woodruff. He's an 83 overall, A potential, 27 though. That's the only bad thing. He's 27. He hasn't had a great ERA, but it's definitely not anything to worry about. He's definitely more velocity type guy. He's not strikeout. He definitely pitches to contact, but hopefully he can start pitching to strikeouts. Well, last year he definitely had a ton of strikeouts, 143. That's pretty good. He had 22 games played and 11-3 record, so that's all-star type material, and we want him to be that as an all-star. Freddie Peralta, hopefully he can do big stuff. He's 23, B potential, 74 overall. He gets a lot of strikeouts, but he also walks quite a few guys. He struggles with the control, and he gives up a lot of hits. So it's either a strikeout, a home run, or a walk every time. So it's not great, but hopefully he can improve in those. Next, Adrian Hauser, 75. He's 27, so he's kind of like Woodruff, just worse. And he's more of a strikeout pitcher, kind of like Freddie Peralta, but he has more control and doesn't walk as many batters. Eric Lauer, B potential, 24 years old, 73. Expecting a lot from him in the future unless he gets replaced, but he's pretty much balanced across the board. Played 2 years with San Diego. Didn't do great with the 4.34 and 4.45 ERA. You want that at least under 3, but if it's for us, we're not expecting a ton of great what is the word? A lot of great ERA, because we're not a great team yet. Next, are the last person in our rotation, Brett Anderson, definitely nearing the end of his career. He's been injury prone for every year of his career, so if he has a good year this year, I can see us bringing him back. He's not a $5 million deal, but if he does good, this is definitely the last straw for him in his career. Out of the bullpen, we have a late relief pitcher, Josh LINDBLOM. He's 32 years old, 67 overall and D potential, so it's nothing great, but hopefully he can be a good arm out of the bullpen. He's a starting pitcher at heart, but we're going to use him in the bullpen. He's played in 2011, 12, 13, and 14. He only started one of those games. He only played one game in 2014 and then took a 2-year break. Got signed by the Pirates in 2017, then went overseas, and we picked him up in free agency this year. Hopefully he can just do something, not just be a liability in the bullpen. Next, Alex Claudio, whose role is depleting because he was a guy that we brought in for 1 or 2 batters and then took him out right away because we just needed to get some quick outs. But now the new rule is you have to face at least 3 batters, which is bad for us and bad for him. He's a slow pitcher, so he doesn't throw for miles per hour. But the batters are so thrown off by the slow speeds that they can't hit him. He's 28, so he still has 2 or 3 good years of his prime. He has B potential, 73 overall, so hopefully he can do something this year and not give up a ton of home runs or hits. Brent Suter, nothing great here. He's 30 years old, C potential 69, so it's only going to get worse from there. Not much to say about him. He doesn't walk a ton of guys, but he also doesn't strike out a ton of guys. Jake Faria, he's 25, 70 overall, B potential, so he has a pretty good upside. He's a little old, but nothing to worry about. Corey Knebel coming back from that injury. He didn't play at all in 2019. 2018, he had a good year though, same with 2017. Had a really great year, so hopefully he can pick up where he left off and do really good for us here. Next, David Phelps. He's old. He doesn't have much left in the tank. He's played in the MLB for quite a while, but I don't know what he can do for us. He has had good ERA, but I don't know. He walks a ton of guys too. Next, we got Josh Hader. Hopefully he can just be a beast like he has been. In the next few years, he's going to start getting expensive because he's just good and he's only 25, so definitely strikes out a ton of guys. Walks are a little bit of a concern, but not much. Home runs too. And so that's the introduction for the team. Now I'm going to be changing out the staff, because if they don't have good staff, your players get a little upset. So I'm going to keep the manager and I'm going to keep Ed Cedar, because those are real guys, but all of these other guys are not real coaches, so I'm going to fire them and get new ones. Trying to look for someone that won't. So he's great. So the scale for potential and attribute grades goes F, D, C, B, and A. A is the best, B is good, C is average, D is bad, and then F is terrible. So he's 62, so he might retire after this year, so we don't want that. Where Darren Blanchard is only 44 and he has all positive factors, so we're gonna want to sign him for 3 years and $4 million. He accepted, so now we're gonna move on to the pitching coach. Not many options here, so I might have to go to the top or settle for a B. So 46-year-old Ken O'Daniel. He only has 1 negative on the break, but it's -2. But it's what we got. First base coach. We're gonna. I don't want to sign someone who's 59 because he might retire. Tommy Abbott. He's 36, so he's really young. Only has 1 minus in arm accuracy, but that's not bad at all. So we're gonna sign him. We already have the third base coach, so now the only thing we need to look for is farm director. We got an A here. He's 60 years old, so I'm gonna keep looking. He's 53, and I think that's the best we're gonna get, so we're just gonna sign him. And so this is our coaching staff, all A's, a B and a C. So next we're gonna do scouts. So these guys aren't great. So you want 1 from every region: International, East, West, and Central. So we have 2 West right now, so we're gonna want to get rid of at least 1 of them. And the first scout I see that's for hire is Mike Pedroza, who looks really good and can scout pitchers and position players at an elite ability. Next, so that's our West guy. So we're gonna want to sign someone from the East. We're gonna replace Barry Young with Sean Correa. He's decent on pitching and decent on position players, but he's really efficient and he is good at being able to discover them. So now we have East, West, and now we gotta get a Central. And he's good at pitching and not so much at position players. So now it's Central, West, East, and International. So now we just need an International. And looking at it, the guy that we have is pretty good as it is right now. What we could do is put in 2 West and replace the International, but I feel like we should just have 1 from each region. So that's it for this video. Just meeting the team and seeing what we can do in the future, hopefully. Next video will be start of the season and scouting. We might even get the draft in. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next video.